I rise today in support of immigration reform. I support strengthening our borders and ensuring that they are secure before beginning a pathway to citizenship, because it's the only way that we can avoid the mistakes of the past. I support robust interior enforcement and a biometric visa tracking system, because without those things in place, we will not solve the problem of illegal immigration. I support modernizing and streamlining our visa system, because we need an efficient process of legal immigration that meets the needs of our economy. And I support immigration reform that is both tough on those who have chosen to break our laws and fair to those who have obeyed them, and to those who have been patiently waiting their turn in line trying to come here legally. Today there's reason for disappointment, but there's also great cause for encouragement. The bill we have before us today is an enormous disappointment. The American people deserve better. As a matter of public policy, this bill fails to meet many of the goals that we set to meet at the beginning of the process. It's full of promises to beef up border security, but it makes no assurances. This legislation cuts the American people out by cutting out any congressional oversight of the opening and the progression of the pathway to citizenship. It remains grossly unfair to those who have languished in our current legal immigration system, unable to get answers for decades in some cases. It transfers enormous authority and discretion to the executive branch, exacerbating an already widespread problem within our federal government. And it fails perhaps the most important test of all. According to the Congressional Budget Office, this bill will reduce illegal immigration by just a mere 25% over the next 10 years. This should be reason alone to scrap the entire bill. As a matter of process, members of this body should be embarrassed about how this bill has moved through the Senate. From day one, the country was misled about what was in the bill. The talking points never matched the reality of what was in the bill. We were told that if we didn't like what was in it, that we'd have an opportunity to fix it. But that wasn't true either. During the committee markup, Democrats and the Gang of 8 Republicans voted as a bloc to defeat virtually all substantive amendments proposed to improve the bill. They said there would be regular order on the floor of the Senate, but that turned out to be a false promise as well. For a 1,200-page bill, the Senate, including the 92 members not on the Judiciary Committee, not on the Gang of 8, were allowed exactly 10 roll call votes, before the process was shut down. By contrast, during the 2007 debate on immigration reform, the Senate voted 32 times to amend the bill. Some would argue even that was too small, but certainly 10 votes on a 1,200-page bill doesn't suggest that the proponents of the bill are interested in regular order. And for the grand finale, at nearly the end of this process, the proponents substituted what is effectively a brand new bill in place of the one we've been debating for over 2 months. They gave us very little time to read it before we had to vote on it. And once we were on the new bill, they did not allow a single vote on any amendments. Mr. President, this is an embarrassment to this institution, and it's an assault on the principles of democracy. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes, from this low point in the Senate springs an encouraging path forward for those who, like me, truly want immigration reform. First, this exercise has laid out in front of the American people all the problems inherent in passing massive pieces of legislation that presume to fix all of our problems at once. The so-called comprehensive approach has been utterly discredited. From denying votes to buying votes with special interest carve-outs, our experience over the last 2 months only reaffirms why the vast majority of Americans don't trust Washington. The special interests had a huge hand in writing the bill, while the American people had none. Almost all the discussions and negotiations took place in secret backroom deals. And rather than debate policy differences, the debate was a daily fact check on misleading and outright false claims made by some of the bill's proponents. The good news is that the House appears to have learned this lesson and wants no part of this. Already, this Speaker has said that the Senate bill is dead on arrival. so today's vote is largely symbolic. The House Judiciary Committee has recently passed two significant pieces of immigration reform, one on interior enforcement and another dealing with agricultural workers, proving that reform can be passed in a step-by-step process. Indeed, the only reason immigration reform is so controversial is because the Senate refuses to pass it one piece at a time. There's simply no legitimate reason why we have to pass a one-size-fits-all, 1,200-page, take-it-or-leave-it bill. Though it's likely that this bill will pass today, I strongly encourage my colleagues to consider where we started, where we are now, and most importantly, what lies ahead of us. They said it would secure the border. It doesn't. Congress has been fooled by false promises before. We should not go down that same path again. They said illegal immigration will be a thing of the past. Under this bill, it won't. The Congressional Budget Office confirmed that under this bill there will be 6 to 8 million illegal aliens in the country 10 years from now. They said it would be good for the economy. It isn't. CBO also confirmed that it would lower wages and increase unemployment. They said it would be tough but fair. It's neither. It's not tough on those who have broken the law, and it's not fair for the people who have been trying to come here legally. And if this bill passes today, it'll be all but relegated to the ash heap of history as the House appears willing to tackle immigration reform the right way. The sponsors of this bill have the best of intentions, but in my opinion, intentions are not always enough. As I said at the outset, Mr. President, I stand here today strongly in support of immigration reform. But this bill is not immigration reform. It is big government dysfunction. And that is why I cannot support it.